Okay, so there was a little bit of interest on the Toyota forum about doing the wiper mechanism on the Hiace. So to get to it, you have to take the scuttle panel off. At the top here are the screws, it's little self-tapping screws. The bottom is retained by the rubber weather strip. Very awkward to get them out, and most of them are now broken. Age is not its friend with plastic. Now the caveat here was, when I put it back together again, because this has a position sensor and it will always stop in the same place, you need the cam at the back, just at the end there. When you unbolt it, it invariably moves, and it was out of phase. So what was happening when I turned the wipers on, they were going down instead of back up. So I've now had to take it apart many times. I've run out of light last night. There's just 4 screws holds this in. You can bring it out, there's enough clearance to undo the nut on the back, which then frees up the arm. You've got 3, I think they're 10mm on each one. Then you can pull the whole mechanism out from this large hole out that way. When you want to strip down and clean or repair this little piece here, you need to knock this up against the aluminium casting here to give you enough clearance. There's a little tiny ring here below this washer, so you need to remove that with a little pointy type screwdriver or a very small screwdriver. Get that out and then release this washer, and then obviously if this is seized, you're going to need the nut on the top here, and just give it some gentle persuasion and then free it off. And inside this is like a nylon sleeve. If it's worn, you might have to replace the whole thing, because I don't know whether there's a part. But I managed to get these out, clean up the shafts and clean the interior. At the bottom there's 2 copper thrust washers that you need to keep in place, just to reduce the friction of the base against this aluminium housing. So I re-greased it, reassembled it, put the little clips back in, and put it all back in. So it's not one of the worst jobs to do. It's just obviously when you unbolt this, because it is done up quite tight, the knurled end on this has to go back in the right place, or your arm's going to be out of phase. So if you do find, what you want to do is put your wiper blade up that way, then test it. So if it does go that way, you don't break the shaft or damage anything and find out the hard way. So I'll come back to you when I've successfully put it all back together. Excuse if you're getting any wind noise, it's a bit breezy today. So the scuttle panel's back on, checked it, it's all back in position how it should be working. The front is retained by these little trim clips. They're like a T-head, they fit in the rubber and then clip through, but unfortunately most of them have succumbed to age, like most of us do. So you can see, I'll get my finger out of the way there. So what I've done is just loosely fitted the self-tappers in the top here, because you've got a little bit of movement to line everything up. The top 2 screws each end are the worst ones. You normally have to access those with the bonnet down. So screws back in, wipers back on, job's done. So here we go. Could do with going down a little bit, that one. It's clearing the door frame, but they're working. So slight little adjustment and we're done. And this was just a side job. Now get back to fixing some other bits for the MOT.